Good morning, beloveds. It's not raining this morning, so we got out and got that run done, and it was a little cooler this morning, so that helped. And yeah, it. If you look at the weather, it's just going to rain for the next week, and we're like, we don't need any more rain. Can we send the rain, west? Because they're in a drought. And we're watching it's 117 in Portland, Oregon, or it's 113 in Portland, Oregon, and then there's a Portland over in, I think, New York, and it's 97, and we're going, that's craziness. Like, the cable cars aren't running in San Francisco because the insulation on the power cords are melting. It's a crazy world out there. So think cool thoughts. Think cool thoughts. But it is June 29th. Our title is I Refuse to Experience Sickness, Poverty, and Unhappiness. And our quote from Emerson is, good is positive, evil is merely privative, not absolute. It is like cold, which is the privation of heat. All evil is so much death or non-entity. Benevolence is absolute and real. Emerson. I don't even know what to make of that. I have free will as a part of my divine birthright. This great power of mine is mine to use, and the law of mine must fulfill my direction. I now declare my freedom from all evil. I refuse to be dominated by illness, fear, lack, or frustration. God never made them, and I will have nothing to do with them. God in me knows only my perfect self, and this alone I recognize, affirm, and accept. Having the power to reject the undesirable, I now declare my freedom from evil. Never again will negatives rule my thinking. I am the perfect creation of a perfect God, and I know it. All my body is divinely created and divinely operated. It is not subject to the ills of flesh, for my flesh is spiritual substance and cannot be defiled. No sickness can come upon me, and no medical belief can enthrall me. I am the health of the Spirit. I am the life of God made manifest. I control my thinking and discipline my emotions. My vitality is sufficient for every demand made upon it. I am never unhappy, for God in me is the joy of living. Outer pleasure I enjoy, but my inner joy is not dependent upon it. My real happiness is from my knowledge of God as the joy of my being. I refuse to experience poverty, lack, or financial limitations. I live in a universe of divine design, and it knows no lack of abundance. Everywhere prosperity is rampant. Money seeks me through every person, thing, and situation. His richness is mine, and I accept it. I enjoy the money I have, and I use it with wisdom. There is no virtue in lack, and I now dismiss it from my world. I am a child of a rich and abundant God. The eternal providing principle supports and maintains me in freedom. I have manna to eat, which no man can see. I have a living water of life to drink, and I am free of all evil. All right. And anybody who has ever experienced any of that right now would like to throw the book across the room. And that's the truth. We've all gone, but what? Especially if we are in the midst of, I'm going to call it a health challenge, right now. We're going, well, let me just throw this across the room because, I can't deny the pain that I have now. Well, I can, and I should, but not while I'm experiencing it. So again, I'm going to reiterate, when we do this kind of stuff, when we make statements like that, we make them in spiritual practice. We make them in the sacred time. We make statements that are absolute and concrete, and this is the way my world is. And we make them in treatment, in prayer, in spiritual practice, in sacred time. And then the rest of the time, we get on with life. And I say that because I actually am experiencing an interesting level of pain from, what I would like to call it is realignment. That's exactly what I've noticed, is that as I am working my body into, realigning my body into what it should be, it hurts. And some days it hurts a lot. And so on days that my pain level picks up, this rings really hard on the ears. It rings really hard on the ears. But that's where I have to understand and remember that I do that in sacred time. I do that in sacred time. I do that in treatment because it is one of the things that supports my realignment. And I also want to remember that some of what Ernest and Raymond and Emerson are talking about is the spiritual core of me that the material pain never touches. So that's the three. So I want to acknowledge right up front the frustration of reading something like that and going, but that's not the experience that I am having. That is not the experience. I acknowledge that because it's not the experience I am having either. But I understand that this is what I do in sacred time. This is what I do at the core of me, at the center of me. This is who I am at the center of me. And this is what I'm working to translate out into the material vehicle of me. Will I be 100% successful? I don't know. I have faith that I can. But, I don't know. So let me acknowledge that right up front. And then we'll work our way back through it. And honest to God, I don't know what to do with Emerson. Half the time I don't know what to do with Emerson. But he's using a word that I know what it means, but I haven't used that word in a while, so okay. So I refuse to experience sickness, poverty, and unhappiness. That's the title. Where do I refuse to experience sickness, poverty, and unhappiness? At the center of me, at the core of me, at the divine spark, at the divine splinter of me. That doesn't exist in that part of me. Does it exist around me in the material plane? Unfortunately. But that's what we're working on. And that's why we do this work. And this is part of how we do that work. By making these kind of statements in faith, believing in the sacred time. So good is positive. Evil is merely privative, not absolute. It is like cold, which is the privative of hate, the absence of. The absence of. Evil is merely the absence of, but it's not absolute. So all evil is so much death or non-entity. Evil doesn't exist as a power. It is a misuse of power. Benevolence is absolute and real. So that's Emerson. Okay. All right, Ernest and Raymond. I have free will as part of my divine birthright. You have free will as part of your birthright. The Bible tells us that. Almost all of the sacred literature tells us that. We have free will. We get to make our own choices, which means we also get to make our own mistakes. This great power of mind is mine to use, and the law of mind must fulfill my direction. So we are using the same mind that God is. We are using the same mind that made the earth, the same mind that made the stars, the same mind that made the universe. We are using it. We are using a tiny portion of it, but we have access to the whole thing. Just not all at once. We have to work our way through it. But we can expand our consciousness. And the law of mind must fulfill the directions you give it, which is when you are in sacred time, when you are in treatment. That's why you make statements like the rest of this passage. That's why you say, this is the way it is. When we're not in sacred time, we can be a little more wishy-washy. But sacred time, you absolutely state it the way you want it. All right? Because the law doesn't have any choice but to give you what you ask for, which is why they're so on point, matter of fact, this is the way it is. I now declare my freedom from all evil. I refuse to be dominated by illness, fear, lack, and frustration. God never made them, and I will have nothing to do with them. God does not know fear, lack, and frustration. So, in sacred time, we absolutely turn away from them. God in me knows only my perfect self. That's one of the reasons why I like when we are having an experience that is not preferred. We want to go back and look at the blueprint. We want to go back and look at the idea that God has of us, because the idea God has of us is perfect. It's whole, it's complete. Everything works exactly the way it should. That's God's idea of us. Our idea of us. So as I'm working on my realignment, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going into sacred time to do. I'm going into sacred time to look at the blueprint, the idea that God has of me. Because the idea of God has of me doesn't have the pain that the idea that I have of me has. And so I am working on replacing my idea with the pain with God's idea, which is not. So God in me knows only my perfect self, and this alone I recognize, affirm, and accept. Having the power to reject the undesirable, I now declare my freedom from evil. You have the power to reject the undesirable. Declare your freedom. Never again will negatives rule my thinking. Okay? Never again will negatives rule my thinking. It doesn't mean I won't have negative thoughts occasionally. It doesn't mean that. What it means is they will never take prominence. They will never rule my thinking. Occasionally a negative thought will drift through, and I will look at the negative thought and I will go, that is not the truth, and kick it out. Negative thoughts will never rule my thinking. Never again will negative thoughts rule my thinking. I am the perfect creation of a perfect God, and I know it. My body is divinely created and divinely operated. It is not subject to the ills of flesh. Okay, so first off, the core of me is not subject to the ills of flesh. But then, the further of that is, my flesh is spiritual substance and cannot be defiled. All right, so there is a statement of truth made in sacred time. No sickness can come upon me, and no medical belief can enthrall me. I am the health of the Spirit. I am the life of God made manifest. I mean, just right there. I am the life of God made manifest. You are the life of God made manifest. Look in your eyes and say that to yourself. You are the life of God made manifest. Or the other one is, I am the health of spirit. It's like you wake up feeling a little puny one day, go look in the mirror and say, I am the health of spirit. I am the life of God made manifest. Tell me that doesn't make you feel better. I mean, just saying it out loud makes me feel stronger. I control my thinking and discipline my emotions. My vitality is sufficient for every demand made upon it. I am never unhappy, for God in me is the joy of living. Okay, now here's the next statement. Outer pleasure I enjoy, but my inner joy is not dependent on it. It means that everything around you doesn't have to be joyful for you to be happy. If you know who you are, and who you are is a beloved child of God. That can go a long way to that inner joy. And that inner joy then suffuses you and drifts out into your environment, and then your environment becomes happier. But it doesn't have to be happy out there for you to know joy within. And if you know the joy within, it will leak out and your environment will get happier. Try it. Try it. My real happiness is from my knowledge of God as the joy of my being. Knowing who you are. Knowing who you are. That's the joy. Knowing who you are. I refuse to experience poverty, lack, or financial limitation. Again, statements made in sacred time. Statements made into the law that the law has no choice but to deliver. Now, we make these statements in sacred time, then we have to listen to the directions that come from sacred time. We have to be open and willing to the guidance that will lead us into what it is that we have asked for. I live in a universe of divine design, and I know, and it knows no lack of abundance. So the universe doesn't know. Spirit doesn't know. Everywhere prosperity is rampant. Money seeks me through every person, thing, and situation. God's richness is mine, and I accept it. God's richness is mine, and I accept it. Sometimes we're afraid to accept the gifts that God is offering to us for whatever reason. Sometimes. I enjoy the money I have and I use it with wisdom. So, money's not there to just sit there and look at you. It is meant to be used. It is good to use it with wisdom. There is no virtue in lack. There is no virtue in, because Buddha did the same thing. Buddha went, well, I've tried the ascetic path and starved myself and lived with nothing, and I've tried the princely life and had every desire I've ever met, and neither one of them made me happy. What is the middle way? So, being poor is not a virtue, and anybody who tells you that is wrong. Being poor in the body and rich in spirit? Yeah. Get my husband talking on the turn of the century medieval church, and he will just tell you. It's like, yes, there is a little bit, there is some planning for the next, but we live now, and now is when we want to take care of it. So being poor here does not mean richness there. Being rich here doesn't mean richness there, but yeah, there's a middle way. Okay. There is no virtue in lack, and I now dismiss it from my world. I am a child of a rich and abundant God. The eternal providing principle supports and maintains me in freedom, which means I have enough. I have enough. Because I don't need any more than I have. There's no need for me to have, I have enough. I read one time that the problem is that we cannot feed the poor. It's not that we cannot feed the poor, it's we cannot satisfy the rich. So I have enough. I have enough. I know that abundance for everyone, that they get what they need and not one iota more. Because when we have resources that we're wasting, we're taking them away from somebody, and that is a misuse. That is a misuse. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to get off into resource allocation because that's one of my passions, and I'm going to stop now. The eternal providing principle supports and maintains me in freedom. I have manna to eat which no man can see. I have a living water of life to drink, and I am free of all evil. All right. Our mission today. I don't know. I think our mission today, I'm going to go with this one. Our mission today is to never again allow negatives to rule our thinking. To recognize a negative thought when we have it and to let it pass without comment. To never again allow negative thinking to rule. To negatives to rule our thinking. So when we have those negative thoughts, because we are going to have them, to let them go. To let them go without comment. And to turn to the positive. To literally do what Jesus asked us to do and turn the other cheek. It's like, yep, that's a negative thought. I'm just going to let that one go, and I'm going to look over here at the positive. I'm going to look at the solution. Yeah. All right. I got to get up and go do. I don't know what it is that I need to do, but outside of going to work. So I got stuff to do today. And I'm sure you do too. So that's our mission. And I am going to give you the one that I always give you, which is do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like, whatever it looks like. It is extremely important that you do that for yourself because you are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased. You deserve your own kindness, your own compassion, and your own love. And when you practice on yourself, then you will have it. You'll have more to share with everybody else. Practice makes perfect and permanent and what have you. So I'm going to, whatever it looks like. And today, if the rain's supposed to pick up in the afternoon, a loving, kind, and compassionate thing. Now, don't do it during a thunderstorm. Go dance in the rain. Go dance in the rain. Or dance in your living room during the rain if you don't want to go get wet. But, yeah. That can be a loving, kind, compassionate thing for you. Because you know what I mean when I say dance in the rain. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. All right, beloveds. It's kind of that childhood thing. It's like, oh, rain. Okay. Yeah. All right. It is Tuesday. I have no idea what's going on. I know we're finishing up Heartfelt Living today, so yay. I don't think there's anything else going on. I know the Science of Mind will be on tomorrow. All right. Fine. I'm losing my mind. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Do something to engage your mind. There is sun right now. Go get you a face full of sun. Drink plenty of water. I know it's raining, but it's still hot. And it's hot everywhere. So please take care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day. While you are doing the things to engage your mind and your body, please open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you do live in heaven now. It is about being conscious of the good around us, about looking for it, about recognizing it, about seeing it. Because the more we look for, the more we see, it tends to multiply. It's the way it works. All right, beloveds, I'm going to move into the process of my day because apparently I'm just a hot mess right now. Which is good. I feel better now. I do. I hope you do as well. Reverend David should be on Facebook Live around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. Oh yeah, I don't have to go to the gym tomorrow. He's off doing church camp, so we're gonna go for a bike ride tomorrow, I think, provided it's not raining. So I'm kind of excited about that. So I'll be back with you at 9 a.m. Please feel free to check me out on my Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. I'm a little bit behind, I know, but I will catch up. So, and there's more than a year's worth of material up there, and sometimes I'm as silly as I am being right now. Actually, most of the time. I'm pretty silly. But I'm happy, and I hope you are too. So do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day. and take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. All right, beloveds, I'll see you tomorrow.